You look at a really complex machine, like a mechanical watch, and you know exactly why it ticks. I mean, there are gears, there are springs. It's basically just the laws of physics.
Right, it's completely predictable.
Exactly. Completely predictable. But then you look at a person, and suddenly we like to assume it's, I don't know, magic.
Right.
Like we have a soul, a personality, free will.
Oh, definitely. We really resist the idea that we might just be incredibly complicated biological clocks. We want to be, more than just our parts.
Yeah, we do. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We're exploring a really fascinating set of study notes on the biological approach, specifically from AQA A Level Psychology.
It's a great topic.
It really is. And our mission today is to figure out if human behavior is entirely driven by biology, so your genes, your brain structures, evolution, or if there's, more to the story.
Right.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core assumption of this approach is that we are fundamentally biological organisms. It firmly plants its flag in the nature camp over nurture.
It really does. It argues that to even begin to understand behavior, you have to start with genetic makeup. So you have your genotype.
Which is the raw DNA, right?
Exactly. The specific alleles and DNA sequences you inherited. And then you have your phenotype, which is how those genes are actually expressed, both physically and behaviorally.
Right. So rather than just saying the genotype is a static blueprint and the phenotype is the house, I like to think about how a blueprint is actually read.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so the genotype is the original architectural file. But the environment, say, an altered transcription process during building, or maybe a shortage of materials that dictates the phenotype, the actual physical house that gets built and weathered by the elements.
And this approach leans heavily on evolution to explain what is in that architectural file to begin with. I mean, natural selection ensures that traits that keep you alive are passed down.
Right.
But there's also sexual selection. These are traits that might not actually help you survive at all, but they make you highly attractive to a mate.
Which ensures your genes get passed on anyway.
Precisely.
I get the logic, I really do, but I have to push back here.
Okay, go for it.
If we're claiming our current behaviors are just ancient survival traits, isn't that totally unfalsifiable? I mean, we can't build a time machine to scientifically test the specific environments of early hominids to prove why a certain behavior developed.
Yeah, that is a very valid critique of evolutionary psychology. It relies heavily on post hoc reasoning. You're just guessing backwards.
Right, exactly.
But what's fascinating here is that modern science is actually bridging that gap by looking at gene expression in the present through epigenetics.
Oh, epigenetics. That is wild stuff.
It really is. We can now literally observe how environmental stress alters the chemical tags on our DNA. It changes how genes get transcribed right now.
So the environment doesn't just weather the house.
No, it chemically edits how the blueprint is read by future generations.
Wow. So rather than just guessing about our ancestors, we can look at the physical machinery operating inside your head right now. Like, take the fight or flight response. This isn't just an abstract feeling of panic, It's a mechanical chain reaction.
Right. It's very literal.
Yeah. Your hypothalamus detects a threat, sends a signal down to your pituitary gland, which then just floods your bloodstream with adrenaline.
And it's not just sudden threats either. Baseline mood is totally dictated by neurochemistry. Take serotonin, for example.
The happy chemical.
Right. It's a neurotransmitter carrying signals across the synaptic gaps between your neurons. When those signals aren't crossing efficiently, or, serotonin levels are too low, the biological approach argues this physical breakdown is the direct mechanism behind depression.
It's a plumbing problem, essentially.
That's a great way to put it. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the biological approach flexes its immense scientific strength.
Because it's testable.
Exactly. We aren't relying on subjective self-reporting. We are using highly objective methods like fMRI brain scans and double-blind clinical drug trials.
Because the mechanism is physical, the solution can be physical.
Yes. This high reliability has led to incredibly effective real-world applications, like using SSRIs, those are antidepressants that keep serotonin in the synaptic gap longer, to successfully treat depression and OCD.
But wait, if my mood is just a serotonin level and my stress is just my hypothalamus flooding my system with adrenaline.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean? Does this approach just view us as biological robots?
Well, that is the primary critique. This approach suffers from severe biological reductionism.
Meaning it simplifies things too much.
Way too much. It takes the incredibly complex, nuanced human experience and reduces it down to just firing synapses and chemical tags. It basically ignores the cognitive framing and social context that actually trigger those physical reactions in the first place.
And it leans hard into determinism, meaning your biology writes the script and free will is just an illusion. You're basically just along for the ride while your anatomy drives the car.
Exactly. You don't have a choice in the matter.
Still, I think understanding these biological foundations is incredibly empowering for you as a listener. It helps you realize that your anxiety or your mood drops, they are tangible mechanisms.
Right. They aren't your fault.
Yeah. It isn't an abstract failing or a character flaw. It is literally just physics and chemistry operating inside you.
And this raises an important question. If epigenetics proves that our environment actively alters how our genes are expressed, and our behavior is biologically determined,
Yeah.
could we eventually override our inherited biology simply by fiercely curating the environments we choose to live in?
Man, it really makes you wonder. You might be a complicated biological clock, but maybe you get to decide which time zone you live in.